Hi, Patricia. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Hi, Susie. Really nice seeing you again. It's always my pleasure.
Yes, I'm excited for our session today.
Mm,
So,
likewise.
great. So, I'm going to be recording, as I told you. And if by the end of the session you don't want to use it, we won't use it, and that's fine. As I explained, it's for educational purposes.
Fine for me. Let's
Ex-
start.
Excellent. So, wow. So it's been so long. So, what would you like to reflect on today?
Um, Actually, this comes in a very good moment. I've been able to recover after the summer break, and I'd like to explore how to keep up my levels of energy, which I was able to um, pump a bit after the summer term. I ended up the school year exhausted, and I was able to recover. I'm excited about the new projects that are coming, and I need that energy to stay with me. And I'd like to explore how, like, ways that energy doesn't drain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure, it makes sense. So talk about energy. You mentioned energy like three times, and
I think it's the way how I see it is when I'm full of energy, and I when I say energy, I see myself like a cup full of water, but suddenly there are little breaks, and that energy starts to leak, and I have the sense that I don't have full control. When I do have energy, I find myself being able to be creative or um, explore new clients, knock on different projects, and see. I have a mindset of curiosity and exploring new ways of doing things, so I can call new clients or be bold in getting to new people. When I start feeling drained and that water starts leaking, it's like I start doing what I know how to do. So I tend to repeat and do the classes I follow or the clients I know. So I reach back to them and don't explore new possibilities.
oh, okay. So when the water of your cup is full, you expand yourself. You're big, and
Mm,
starts leaking. You start doing the same things, and you feel, if I get it right, you feel you're not creating anything new.
exactly.
You like to create anything new.
Hmm. What has happened in the past is when I'm connected with that sense of energy, I'm able to listen and explore different possibilities with my clients. For example, um, I'm able to use different tools. I'm able to discover what the client really needs. So I'm able to also bring other people with me to the project. When I'm kind of exhausted, I start like engaging with these thoughts of, well, this might be useless, or this um, they wouldn't like this. So what I've experienced during this break is that having some time off and having some time doing other things ignites that sense of creativity. That's what my clients are looking for.
Right, right. And what makes it such a challenge for you to to keep this state of energy?
Mm, that's a very good question. Um, I think I get myself in too many things at one moment. There is a moment where um, I discover that when I'm able to say no and say, okay, I'm in enough projects at the same time, um, I tend, now that I'm thinking about it, I tend to not differentiate a big project from a different project. So I get myself in with the same amount of energy and noticing ahead what time is going to need, or how many meetings or how many workshops is a client going to need from me, can make me better use that amount of energy that I need. Because now that I'm thinking about the projects that I have, there is one big project that obviously needs a lot more from me. But the meetings I'm having are like not all in the same day. So I tend to put things in my schedule that are not related to that project. And so what I find myself is when I'm in the meeting, I get into the meeting, I'm already exhausted. And I need that energy for that meeting to think out of the box and give the client the clarity they're looking for, and that I'm proud of bringing into the meeting. I think that's it.
When I'm listening is challenge is that you're using the energy for some reason that we could explore here. You're using the energy in a way that you get drained before the moment you really need that energy.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah. And before the summer, that you entered the summer so exhausted, and you came out very relaxed at the end of the summer.
Now that I'm realizing why I'm what I consider better in being more creative or more present in my meetings now, is that I was able to say no to some other projects before the summer break. I saw ahead of time saying, listen, from here until December, I'm going to be needed in this big project, and I'll be able to take a couple of more. So my schedule, I see my schedule as like, okay, everything's under control. I can schedule my trips, I can travel when it's needed, but everything is, it's like a sense of control. At the same time that I can bring new ideas to the table, or new questioning to the client to investigate what they really want.
And by the end of our session, what would you like to take away at the end of today's session?
Like that image of the cup kept with me. Like I would like to see what works for me in keeping that cup full. It's like seeing this schedule that I have organized, or not feeling that I'm following one session after the other, or one meeting after the other, is more having some clarity of what is expected, where I would like to see myself at the end of the year, so I can build back how I need to prepare myself to meet those expectations, and still having that cup full by December.
So in order for this session to be successful, you would need to understand how to keep that cup full.
Yes. Yes.
And where should we start then? Where do you think?
Because now my mind is focused there. It's, in order to keep that cup full, what is working for me is, and I realized while I was talking to you, is that big project requires that I'm focused on it. and I bring my energy there. And what has worked for that is having clarity about the expectations of not only the client, but also what they need from me. So doing all this initial interviews with the key people from the project has been very important in knowing what was expected. So I think the priority of this big project that I have now from here until December, I think is one thing that is going to help me keeping my eye on the goal. And then understanding which are the other priorities. Apart from this project, how many small projects I can get or new clients to look for. Because it's a balance between, and I think now that I'm saying it, is working on my own is saying yes to everything that arises, right? It's like, yeah, can you join us in this project? It's like, yeah, let's go. And then it's like, whoa, wait, what's the scope of the work? And looking ahead to what that scope is, I think it's very helpful.
You talked about clarity, but at the same time, you also talked about control. How does clarity relate to control?
That's a very good question. I think I get exhausted when I have no clarity about what I'm doing in a project. And I'm realizing that now. And it all depends on me asking for that clarity, because the client is going to ask for what they want. But it's me having the patience, saying, is that really what you want? And is it, how can I help you develop your thinking with, like, that's what I call being creative. It's like getting my new eyes to the project and saying, okay, what do you need? And what is it that you, how can I help you? So and I was in a meeting this morning exactly about that. It's like, okay, what it's the scope of work, it's what you can put on those terms of reference and send to the client. Because then when you get into those meetings, the project develops itself, right? So going back to those terms of reference is, okay, where are we going? Are you happy with the work we're doing? And how can we tweak it? So I think that is, my sense of control comes when I have clear terms of business or terms of reference into a project. Is what is expected from me? What does the client want? And then it's like that's the word that's coming to my mind is a sparkle. It's like that fairy dust that you put, that is not only that you cannot control, but it appears when I have enough energy or I have not been drained for the previous sessions or meetings. Does that make sense? Because it's making sense in my mind.
If it makes sense in your mind. I noticed when you talked about today's the session you had today, like your face, like your whole, I don't know, your whole expression, your eyes opened, and I just saw something different. I saw different energy, talking about energy here in the session. Why do you think that was?
Absolutely. So, because I noticed it myself too. It was this meeting with all my colleagues. It was the chairman of the company, it was the leadership team, but there was something about talking about specifics of projects, saying, listen, don't go out looking for new clients and scoping work that you have not put into those terms of reference. And it was like a relief. It was like, yes, that's the way to follow. Instead of start working with teams, new people, that I don't know where we're going. It's like, okay, let's go back to the terms of reference. And I thought that was a very good meeting. And I start feeling I belong in these meetings, or this new team I'm working with, because there's part of that support that gives me clarity. And I was able to ask also, can I join you when you are working with your clients? So I can get specifics about how do you explain, or you get clarity when you're talking to your clients. And I think that sense of belonging makes me be in control, saying, okay, I can reach out to them.
And when you're not in control, what happens to you?
And when I'm not in control, I think I continue. It's like a wheel that you continue without knowing where you're going. And it's not true, because if I stop before I get really drained, like the cup goes up again. But if there's no water, it's like the fear of there's no more water, I cannot create any more water. If there's a little, I can do it. But if there's no more water in the cup, there's no way I can get it fully back, which I start thinking that it's not true. The cup has never emptied, really. But it's like the big fear, like, okay, this is gonna crack and it's gonna smash.
Yeah. And what happens when you're in this fear?
I think I just block. I start not thinking correctly. And when I say correctly, it's not creatively, it's not thinking for new opportunities. I just start digging in the same direction. If the client says he doesn't like something, I'll dig in why and why he doesn't like it. So I let it go. He doesn't like it, doesn't like it. What is it that you don't like? And there are two very specific behaviors. Like, I start fearing a lot of things. But when I'm intentional about letting it go and bring that mindset back, and I rest, I'm able to see the same project with very new eyes. Which is weird. See, like, because I'm thinking it's the same project. I'm on the same project. But that clarity of going back to the terms, understand the written terms, bring back the energy.
Would you like to explore this fear a little more? Should we go there?
Yes, because I think there's something that I don't see when I get in that mood. I don't see myself. And it would be useful to see it, how I behave, so I can prevent myself from going there.
What do you think this fear is telling you?
I think this fear tries to protect me. It's like being on your own requires that you're alert. And that fear is not that I'm thinking, it's like, don't let don't let others take away what you know it's unique on you. Because it's sometimes when I get to my clients and I engage with them, I know it's working. I get that sense of, okay, now we're on. That fairy dust is igniting their thinking and my thinking. So we get to new framings, we get to new taglines, we get to new ways of doing things. And it has an impact. It has a real impact on society. Things change for those meetings and those conversations when we do it right. But I think I have the sense that I can do it on my own. And then when I realize that there's a whole team backing up what I'm doing in those meetings, I feel relieved. I think that's it. I think I have the sense that I have to do everything on my own. So that's why when I feel that I belong, I go like, oh, we're so many more in this team. I don't have to have everything, the idea and the outcome, and go with the client and travel, and I can do my bit and I can ask for help. And what I've discovered now in September is that I don't have to have a full agenda. I don't have to go running from one meeting to another. And that has been eye-opening. Like, people want me for what I am and what I bring to the meetings. It's not always me saying yes to everything. So that enabled me to say no to some things. And I was like, okay, good. So I can, and I think the quality rises, the water rises in the cup. I had to go running everywhere.
Wow. So I'm listening to so many things. I'm listening that when there's fear, but when you're with other people, this fear can bring the cup of the water in a balance.
Mm-hmm.
When you're alone, you start getting this fear.
Mm-hmm.
I also listen that this fairy dust appears when you're able to say yes or no when you want to say yes or no.
Yes.
You're listening to what I'm saying.
Yes, that's correct. I think it's not so real that I'm alone, but when I feel alone, that I have to work with the client on my own, and that I have to have new ideas on my own for that client, is when I get that lack of energy. But every time I feel that I have a team that backs me up, that's where the fairy dust appears. It's like when I can bring the ideas, I can challenge my client saying, why don't we do it this way? Or I think what's happening is here. And that is the moment. That is like when I go, yes, I got that. And they see it too. And then it starts running. It's like, okay, let's work on that direction. We got it. For example, I'm going on a trip tomorrow and the day after. My natural way of doing this, because I'm traveling, I would put a lot of meetings in those 2 days. What I did this time, I will only focus on 2 clients, 2 different meetings. The rest of the day, it's open to explore other possibilities. I will go and see the factory. I will see if anything arises from those conversations. Maybe we can go and have lunch or not. Or maybe if I go on my own for a walk, I will keep on thinking about this client. And that is good. That's where new ideas arise. If I jump from one client to another, I just don't have time to bring that fairy dust, which appears if I'm just having a walk. I think that's the whole thing.
Interesting how your eyes just got big
Yes.
when you were explaining that. And I can see immediately how, I mean, your energy changes from one place to another. Can I give you an observation, Patricia, what I'm seeing right now? I'm seeing that you feel you have everything figured out when you can get this fairy dust, when it appears, and when you can have your cup all the way up with the water and imbalance. So what I'm wondering is, what are you really protecting deep inside?
Mm. That's a very good question, because I think it's the fairy dust itself. So I think that when I get in that mood is what drains me, and it's not. It's not. It multiplies the amount of creativity that I have. Maybe it's also when I get into that mode, I start shooting ideas. Why don't we do this? Or how have you seen it this way? And maybe sometimes I've been shut down. Like, no, that's too much. But when I realize that when I get in that mood, maybe not all of the ideas are good, but 2 or 3 of them are really good ones. And when I'm tuned or inwardly sound, I'm able to differentiate a good idea from a bad one. And that means I might need to have a walk throughout the factory on my own and observe what's going on and trust that what I'm getting, it's good. Even though not all of my ideas are good, but when I have time to reflect on it, normally that one or those 2 ideas come forward. How I see things are normally the extra mile my clients need, because they normally know what's going on in their factories. But it's that insight that you can bring to the table, saying, have you seen this, or have you noticed that? Which starts the thinking. And I think that is what I like to protect, because that's kind of unique.
Well, when you're protecting that, how does it relate to the fear that sometimes appears?
Because sometimes I think it's like the experience I had, like writing this book about it. All the drafts I've shared with others, everyone makes a comment like, yes, very well, but. And it's like, of course there's a but. There's always a but. Everyone has an opinion. But I think that's the fear, to expose yourself and being questioned sometime and not having the answer. But maybe we don't have the answers, and that's quite all right. I think it's more about making the questions. But in my case, I think there's a fear that I don't have the answer. And it's the same fear, like, oh, if I'm exhausted, I'm not creative, so I don't have new ideas. I see nothing. And I go back to the client telling them what they already know about themselves. That's interesting.
So we talked about control. If you had the control, which is a funny word, but anyway, if we could have the control to feel the security or this trust in yourself, to be able to give these answers, how would you be showing up?
Much more confident, much more sure that what I'm bringing to the table is valid. I agree that control is a very tricky word, because it's not control what I want. It's having the sense, or I know that when I get in the room, things start changing. Or when a client comes and see me, things start changing. The perspective, the will to make things in a different way. And it is more about me observing and bringing to the client my observations. That is the difference, rather than giving solutions. And I think when I get in that mode is when I really make the difference. So every time that I have known that that was true, it's when I've made a big difference in the conversation. And when we got to discover what the problem was, so we could fix it together. And again, it has been those times where I was able to ask others to join us. And that's an interesting part. When I see that I cannot do everything on my own, so I need to bring some other consultants with me. Because there's a lot of the business that I don't know. And all that wisdom about the business is something that I really appreciate others jumping in to help the clients.
How do you relate to the not knowing?
Not very well. Yeah, I think you're making a very good spot there. I've learned to embrace not knowing as an opportunity for learning, but there's a part of me that still keeps that sense of if I'm in there, I can solve it on my own. And I think that's what really drains me, and that it's exhausting because it's not true. And a lot is about doing what you learned. It's not true that you have all the solutions. It's not true that you have to know everything. It's okay saying I don't know. And it's okay to bring, you know what, I'm going to bring someone else. But normally it's me who they're bringing, that someone else. So it's kind of difficult. I'm realizing it right now. It's like, okay, I'm the one like, oh, why do you talk to Pat? Because she will help you develop your thinking. It's like, okay, let's go. And then if I have to say, you know what, I don't know, let's talk to someone else. Like, but it is true. I've done it several times. Sometimes I'm not the right person. Or the fear, yeah. The fear is that when I give my insight, I tend to think that's the correct one. And if the client says it's not, they didn't know anything new with that insight, it's like, oh, I didn't do what I wanted. I think some of that, yeah.
Some of self-compassion, maybe?
Sorry, come with again?
Passion?
I think it's going back like the very basic of what I do is nurture that sense of putting people to talk between them or among themselves. It's like, okay, what sparks that idea of any business is core to what they're doing. So even if the factory has 250 years, there's an initial spark. And when you get back there, and sometimes I get a lot of that from observing, not only listening or reading the papers they send me, is observing how they interact, how they move, how they talk in the factories, and I think when I'm connected to that fairy dust is when I observe and I reflect what I observe. And that is what I'm realizing now talking to you, is the observation. It's not only the intellectual effort, is when there's no effort and you connect with yourself actually, and you're okay, you're there, then all these ideas come. And I am able to observe what the client doesn't see daily.
How are we doing up to now?
Oh, I think we got to a very interesting place. Because in that place, there's no fear, and there's always a full cup. Or I'm not afraid anymore. There's a leak. No, there are no leaks. I'm working with the image in my mind. It's like, no, there's no leaks.
There might not
And
be.
it's a powerful image.
Yeah, that's a great image. And well, we're getting close to the end of the session. We need to start wrapping up. I would like to ask you, what are your learnings of this session?
Well, it has been a very interesting session for me in terms of I know what I want to do in this next 2 days, which are they're a sample of what I want to continue doing, because I'm visiting new clients for 2 days, but also when I come back, knowing that even these 2 clients can open 2 different projects, I have a commitment with this big one that I'm committed until the end of the year. So listening me saying that this is a very important project and there's a certain amount of other projects that I can deal with, maybe brings the opportunity of me bringing someone else into these new projects. So I can reach out directly after tomorrow's visit saying, this has been the conversation, this is what I saw, these are my insights, can you have a look at it? Because I won't be able to get on this new projects full time, but they are my relationships. But I'm happy to bring that to the whole team, not only me pushing the whole project. So it was really helpful. Susie, thank you so much for today.
What would be the next steps? Like your tiny little next steps that you could start doing right away?
This thing about the big project and my commitment, I think it's super important at this point. I cannot get engaged with other things. So reminding me myself that this is the project I'm in, and it's a 4 months project. And even though I think I'm not doing, just by not engaging with other projects, I'm already doing things. So when I have these meetings this next 2 weeks, I have a clear mind, and I'm in that state of mind where I can observe and bring back my observations to the client. And I think that was very important. But also knowing that to keep that fairy dust is sharing with others, is bringing some others to the table. And I think that was an important one for me. And that is something I can do right now with these 2 projects tomorrow and the day after, but also asking for help, saying, okay, what's your perspective on this? So I think those are my next steps.
Can anything come on your way? Any barriers that you can foresee coming?
Getting to involved in things that are not a priority for me right now. That someone is asking for help, or yeah, you should talk to Patricia, and I would say yes. And I think I have to be intentional. I want to be intentional about saying, listen, I can engage in January, but for now, I have to say no, and I will happily bring someone else to help you. I think it's only me who can get in the way.
And how could you notice if you are taking these other projects and you're going like a GPS, you're going on the other direction? How would you know? How could you make yourself?
There's one thing that I think is working for me right now, with it, which is I'm keeping Mondays and Fridays for thinking time. I have no scheduled meetings, and I only get scheduled meetings from Tuesday to Thursday, and that is working very well. So I have to be intentional in doing that, because sometimes it's like, oh, can we meet here? And it's like, no, I can't.
Saying no.
Yes, saying no.
Okay.
Yes.
Fabulous. Anything else?
I'm looking to the image, saying where the leaks are, and there are no leaks. So I'm being intentional looking for the leaks. But I like the new image that came into my mind. It's like a more robust cup with thicker walls. So I think that worked really well. Thank you.
You build that cup. Fabulous. I really wanna recognize the deep reflections you had today, and the way you went going really deep into this cup and this fairy dust. And I wanna recognize and congratulate you for your reflections. And the only thing I would like to say, if there's anything I could support you with.
I think I'm good, Susie. I think it was super useful, and I'd like to thank you too, because I know I normally talk in metaphors and images. I think that's what I do in my work, so I use it with myself. But when you guide me in that thinking, it has been really useful. So I think I'm good. Thank you very much.
Great. How would you like to end the session?
I think making a toast with that empty cup. And yeah, I'm feeling grateful for knowing when I'm full too. So I'm in a good spot, and not only complaining when I'm drained. Like, okay, now that you're full, what brought you here, and how can you keep up with this? And I think we got to specific things that I can rely on to make that happen. So thank you. Thank you very much. It was great.
And if it's okay, we'll use the recording. And is that okay with you?
Absolutely. Yes. I'll be happy if you do, and it's useful for you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop recording. And
thank you.
Thank you.